أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه وعليه نتوكل ونتوب إليه ونعوذ به من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله هو خاتم الأنبياء وإمام المرسلين فصلوات الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. أسلم اليوم في شهر رمضان المبارك بتحية الجنة. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Today I want to talk about two things to give us maybe something to focus on in this month. I want to talk about why we need Allah, and I want to talk about why we need each other. Why do we need Allah, and why do we need each other, and how are these two related? And inshallah, in this month, it's so easy to become caught up in the sleep deprivation and the thirst and the hunger and trying to hold down a job and other things, that you can be caught up in the obedience of the month, of trying to fast and trying to make the salah and the prayer and these things, with sometimes losing the bigger picture. Why am I doing all of this? Why am I staying up at night? Or why am I robbing my body of sleep? Why am I not eating? Why am I not, trying to break bad habits? What's the purpose behind all of this? And there's a verse in the 4th chapter in Surah An-Nisa where Allah says, "Inna Allah la yadlimu mithqala dharra," that Allah will never wrong someone even like an atom's weight, right? Or even like a weight of a mustard seed or an atom. And He says, "What? In taku hasanatan yuda'ibha," right? And that if somebody does some good, then He will not only give them a reward, but He will double it, right? And then what? يُؤْتِ مِن لَدُنْهُ أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. And that He will what? In return for doing so, will give an enormous reward. It's a very beautiful verse. Gives us something to long for, something to hope for in this month, that especially with the idea of fasting, right? With charity, if you give somebody poor, it's very, yes, you get the reward from Allah, but then you are also, you're doing it for that person to help them. But nobody else gains any benefit from the fast. And even though there are some people in our community that can't fast. In fact, the other day I had to break my fast because I'm diabetic and I had an episode of hypoglycemia. So I had to break my fast, and it reminded me that it's a challenge for those, that aren't able to fast to have the same feeling. But nonetheless, there's something special about the fast out of many of the deeds that we do, maybe similar to the prayer, is that it isn't going to benefit anybody else but us. Like individually, it's for our reward. And yet, it's very difficult to achieve these goals sometimes if you're going about it and you're doing it alone. I mean, I think that is the part that so many of us enjoy. We come in the evening, we listen to the Qari, reciting the Quran, we feel uplifted by it. There is something that is more blessed about Ramadan because partly it's the month of where community comes back together. It really shows the power of community, of where we can inspire one another, we make each other feel good for doing good, and then on top of it, knowing that not only if I do this, I get the reward, but then yuda'ibha. Allah says what He will then give me the double reward for it. As it relates to, for ourselves, right? Why do it's very easy to think about, why do I need Allah? Well, Allah made me. He's the one that made the heavens and the earth. He's the one that causes the plants to grow. He's the one that causes the animals. The water comes down from the sky. Allah is Ar-Razaq, He's the sustainer, He's Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, He's merciful to me. We can maybe understand this. But then why do we need each other? You might say, well, it's just purely, this is my relationship between me and Allah and I don't need anybody else. But most of us know that if we're left to our own devices, instead of praying the salah on the mukhtar, right, instead of doing the prayer on the early time, we might delay it, or we might combine it, or next thing you know, it's very hard to stay personally motivated. This is why people spend millions of dollars on personal trainers to go to the gym, because it's not easy to motivate yourself. You need a sahib, you need a companion that can help to motivate you to do your best. And I think we all, inshallah, experience this in some way or another. So I want to relate to you a really beautiful narration from the Prophet ﷺ. And I read this the other day. I got really emotional, so you have to forgive me if I get a little bit emotional again. And it's related by one of the great companions of the Prophet ﷺ, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. And he was talking with the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet relayed to him this, in a way, it's like he was relating something that was going to happen on the Day of Judgment. And a lot of times for us, Day of Judgment is very fearful. Like, oh my God, I'm going to go in front of my Lord, and I'm going to be judged, and fire, and this, and a little bit about the garden, right? We don't tend to emphasize the garden enough. We talk a lot about the fire. But in this beautiful story, he relates to him. He says, إِذَا خَلَصَ اللَّهُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مِنَ النَّارِ وَآمِنُوا. On that day, when Allah has secured, right, who has saved the believers from the fate of going into the fire, and has made them feel safe, right? So one, we know, this word, khallasa, it's similar to ikhlas. We know the suratul ikhlas, Qul huwallahu ahad, right? And in this, Allah says what He's going to save the people. This is why sometimes they call suratul ikhlas the saving surah. It's the suratul najah. Why? Because it's a pure articulation of tawheed, of la ilaha illallah. But then he says what? He saves them, al-mu'minina min an-nar wa aminu, right? And this word in Arabic, we say what? A person that has iman, we think that, they're a believer. But in fact, to be amin is to be safe. And one of the qualities about this life that is very different than the quality of the next life, there is no 100% safety in this life. Life is very dangerous. Just look at the natural world. I love how, on National Geographic, they show you these pictures of animals in the wild, like, killing and eating each other, and then, it's, clearly nature is very violent. But, the nature of this life is, it's unsafe. I mean, if for no other reason, you will grow old and die. I don't care if you live a perfect vegan, vegetarian, keto, paleo. I don't care what your diet is in this life, you will die. I will die. Nobody in this room 150 years from now will be here. That's just reality. So the nature of this life is, it's unsafe. But the nature of the next life in the garden, there is no more insecurity. It's purely, that's why it's called Dar Salam. It is like literally the place of pure safety. And then the Prophet ﷺ continues to relate it. So Allah will what? He will save the believers from this torment of the fire and will make them feel safe. And then he continues with what? فَمَا مُجَادَلَتُهُ أَحَدِكُمْ لِصَحِبِهِ فِي الْحَقِّ يَكُونَ لَهُ فِي الدُّنْيا. Right? Then not only after, it's just not that we're satisfied after we've been saved. I mean, this is an amazing ajr, amazing reward that Allah will give us to save us from the torment of the fire. But then we're not even satisfied with this. He says that we will, from amongst us will be people that they will literally argue, with their Lord about their friend, right? This is mujadatu ahadikum li-sahibihi, right? That they will argue with Allah about their friend and their companion from this life in the next life, right? This is يَكُونَ لَهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا أَشَدُّ مُجَادَلَةً مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ لِرَبِّهِمْ فِي إِخْوَانِهِمْ. That we're not only just satisfied that we made it to the garden, we're not just satisfied that we made it to the hereafter in a good condition, but we're thinking about, well, what about my friend? What about the good friend of mine that I had? Where, it's like they're kind of looking around, what happened to them? Where did they go? He says, what? الَّذِينَ أُدْخِلُوا النَّارِ. Wait a minute. You put some of my friends in the fire. Ya Allah, you took some of my good friends. And I want you to think about this right now. We're all sitting in this air-conditioned room, fasting, happy, content, chill. We're friends with one another. I might be your friend, but on the day of judgment, you will look for me and I won't be there. I might be in the fire. And you're my friend, and perhaps Allah will have that mercy on me. I will be saved from the fire, and I'm looking for you. Where are you? I don't see you. You were a good person. And he says, قال يقولون ربنا إخواننا كانوا يصلون معنا ويصوموا معنا. And these people, they will say, Ya Allah, what happened to our brothers and sisters? What happened to our friends? They used to pray with us. They used to fast with us. Where did they go? Why are they not here with us? وَيُحُجُّونَ مَعَنَا. And that we even made Hajj together. Some of you, Brother Dawood, just came back from Hajj. Imagine you go to Hajj, you mean you're praying with your friend and your brother, your sister, you're fasting with them, you're coming to Tarawih, you're even visiting the house of Allah together. You think you are dear friends of one another. On this day, one of you may be looking for the other. Where did they go? فَيَقُولُونَ اذْهِبُوا. Right? And he will say to them, فَدْخُلُوا النَّارِ. Go down into the fire. وَإِذْهِبُوا وَيُخْرِجُهُمْ مِنَ النَّارِ. Go into the fire and take your friends out of the fire. This is the real meaning of having community and loving one another and caring about one another. I may need one of you on that day to come and ask Allah about me if I'm missing. And go into the fire and ask Allah to take me out of it. And I want to be the kind of friend with you, your brother, that if I show up on that day and I'm blessed, I'm not only just content the fact that I made it out of the fire, I want you to be with me as well. And I hope that Allah would bless me to be one of those that could go into the fire and take out one of his companions, to not leave you there. قال يقول ربنا إخواننا كانوا يصلون. Again, these are the people that we used to fast with, pray with, made Hajj with. Go into the fire, and he will say, what? اذهبوا فأخرجوا من عرفتم منهم. Go into the fire and take out who you recognize. So just as I recognize you standing here now, and you recognize me, remember my face, and I will try to remember your face. This is community on another level. This isn't just coming and praying and leaving, fasting and leaving, just sticking to your, little different ethnic groups. No, this is community on another level. فَيَأْتِيَنَهُمْ فَيُعْرِفُونَهُمْ بِصُورِهِمْ. They will go in, these kind of people, this kind of friend of yours. This is why, be careful who you make friends with. You want somebody that they will go into the fire for you and ask their Lord to take you out. Allah says, go into the fire and you will know who you are looking for. You will know them by their face. فَيُعْرِفُونَهُمْ بِصُورِهِمْ. And it says what? لَا تَأْكُلُ النَّارُ صُوَرَهُمْ. This is even the mercy that Allah has upon the believer, that He will even put in the fire. The fire will consume the believer that goes into the fire, but not his or her face. Not his or her face. The fire may go anywhere from their ankle all the way up to the neck. But the mercy of Allah even extends to the fire, that the person's face it'll be intelligible. Right? We'll be able to recognize each other's faces for no other than this purpose. And Allah says what? Go there, it says, فَمَنْ أَخَذْتُ مِنَ النَّارِ. It says, إِلَى أَنْصَافِ سَاقِهِمْ وَكَابَعِهِمْ. Again, like all the way from the ankle, like to the neck. فَيُخْرِجُونَهُمْ. Right? Go in and take them out. Allah is saying, go in and take your brother out. Go in and take your sister out. Go in and take your children out. Go and take your parents out. Go and take the people that you cared about. So you want to be the kind of person that engenders love. This is how we get to building community. How can I be your brother and engender love in you for His sake, that you would care enough about me to ask Allah about me on that day and go in and take me out? Because I'm standing here in front of you now giving khutab and all this other stuff, and you think, well, this is the Imam. Out of everybody, he's going to Jannah. No. No. I have no promissory, I have no contract with Allah that as Imam, I go to Jannah and you have to struggle. We all have to struggle. And they will say, فَيَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا إِخْوَانَنَا مِنْ قَدَ أَمَرْتَنَا. We have done as you have commanded. We have gone and we have taken them out. But that's not just the good people. That's like that's like, say, like the real mu'min. They had a good heart. But then what about the rest of us? The mercy of Allah even goes further. ثُمَّ يَقُولُونَ أُخْرِجُ مِنْ كَانَ فِي قَلْبِهِ وَزْنُ دِينَارٍ. Go back into the fire. Now you pulled your best friend out, right? He had a good heart. He's done, in the rotisserie. Pull him back out. Go back in and find somebody that has a dinar's weight, like a little coin. Imagine if you put a quarter in your hand. And there's some doctors here. They can probably tell you how much a heart weighs versus a quarter. Go back into the fire and find somebody who has goodness the weight of a little coin in their heart and take them on. ثُمَّ كَانَ فِي قَلْبِهِ وَزْنُ نَصْفِ دِينَارٍ. Then go back into the fire and find somebody who has half the weight of a dinar of goodness in their heart. Go back and take them out. ثُمَّ مَنْ كَانَ فِي قَلْبِهِ مِثْقَالَ حَبَّةٍ. Go back into the fire and find somebody that has like a mustard seed, a little grain of sand weight of goodness in their heart. Right? And take them out. And the reason why I say this is because we think that to make it to the garden we have to be perfect. That some of us, and may Allah protect us, none of us, may have to visit that dark place. But even there is no place that the light of Allah does not even reach, not even to there. For the person that has even a mustard seed, a little grain of sand of goodness in their heart, which means that never give up on your relationship with Allah. Never think that, I'm not perfect, so why even try? If we're not, maybe you aren't perfect. Maybe you will have to go into that place. Maybe I will have to go into that place. وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ. We ask Allah to protect us from that. But if that is the case, if you keep some goodness in your heart, I ask Allah to make me and to make you and to make all of us brothers and sisters on that day that will go and ask about ourselves, that have even one sand of weight of goodness in the heart, and will take you out. This is a completely different way of defining what it means to be Muslim, of what it means to have community, of what it means to care about one another. And if I have been deficient in any way, I ask Allah to forgive me. I ask for your pardon and for Allah to bind our hearts together for His sake. And there's no better time in this month. There's no better time than this month to get real about what is the nature of reality. That hole in the ground is waiting for each and every one of us. And we want to think about what is the condition that I'm going to go into that ground in. Not only of the condition of my heart. How have I been with people? Look around this room right now. There may be one person in this room. Maybe if I had just given her salam. Maybe if I hadn't told her her hijab wasn't quite right. Maybe if I hadn't railed on him about the length of his beard. Maybe if I had been a little bit kinder to the people, that that might be the one person right there because I said something to one time. I made him or her laugh. We cried together over Quran or something. And that's the person on that day when I need help, that they're going to come and look for me. And they're going to ask about me. On a day I won't be able to help myself. And Allah's mercy will extend to even that. This is why we can take the meaning of our community is based upon rahmatan lil alameen, mercy for all the worlds, because it even extends to that. So I ask Allah to bless us, have mercy upon us, and make us truthfully, genuinely love one another, because we are going to need to call that number in one day. I may need to call in the love that you and I have for one another, because that is what maybe gets me out of the fire. And Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, he said about that verse, he said, for the one, he said, قال Abu Sa'id al-Khudri من لم يصدق هذا فليقرأ. He said, if you don't believe in the truth of this statement, this was after the Prophet ﷺ had narrated this hadith to him. And he was talking to other people. He said, if you don't believe the truth of this statement of the Prophet ﷺ, then just recite that one ayah of the Quran. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَظْلِمُ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ. Right? Allah will never wrong anybody. And that He will double the good if it's there. And He will give them what? Ajran azim, give them an enormous reward. May Allah make us the answer to this dua. May Allah make us the people that He will double our good, and that we will be a source of goodness for each other in this life and in the next. نسأل الله بالعافية وربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا. استغفر الله استغفر الله. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه وصلواته وسلامه على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. This is the beauty of Islam. It should move the heart. And it should make us, kabunyan al-mafsus, like one rank, one brotherhood. This is where we will really see the beauty again of Islam manifest in our community, when we have a genuine love for one another for His sake and upon the way of His messenger. And the way of His messenger is a way of love and a way of mercy. The Prophet ﷺ is not telling us this as a fairy tale. He left this behind so that even in times of darkness, even in times of struggle, that we would find hope and a means to live with one another and to live well. I told a friend of mine the other day, I want to live well in this life and in the next. I understand this as the tafsir of رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنًا. Oh Allah, give me good in this life. I don't have to be miserable in this life and then get it all in the next. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيا حَسَنًا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنًا. Right? How does this happen? وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Right? Because what good can I have in this life if I'm going to go into the fire? Right? But how can I strive for the next life if I think, well, I'm just going there anyway and there's no hope? This is the deen of hope. This is a way of life of hope. This is a way of love. I love all of you for the sake of Allah. May Allah bless you. And may Allah make us a source on that day when we will not be able to help ourselves, that by His mercy, we will look for each other on that day when nobody else will. Wa aqim as-salam.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.